Is in camera.
Yeah, that one went away. I still call it
I'd like to call a regular scheduled council meeting of November the 4th, 2025 to order. There's no public hearing scheduled for this evening. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda from administration?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, administration has 3 additions with permission from council. The first is a presentation from the Redwater RCMP on their quarterly stats. We kind of rushed this one to get onto the agenda because the rest of November and into December don't look really good for getting the RCMP here, so we figured we'd take this opportunity tonight. The second is 10.1 under bylaws, and that is bylaw PD 02-2025 for potential first reading. And the third is a presentation from the recently elected school trustee under 7.2.
Thank you. So one under 7.1, one under 7.2, and one under 10.1.
Correct.
Anything from council? Not seeing anything, I'll look for a motion from council to accept the amendments to the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Councillor Butcher, thank you. Discussion? Call that question. All in favor? That's carried. I'm looking for a motion to accept the amended agenda. Councillor Cosby, thank you.
Motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Discussion? Seeing nothing, I'll call that question. All in favor? That's carried. Public input, we don't have anything under that section tonight. Under delegations, we do. We have Mr. Schmidt here. He's provided a brief synopsis of what he would like to talk to all of council about. And the floor is yours, sir. Welcome.
Great. I bet I should ask, how much time do we have? I could be here for a while.
You have a total of 15 minutes.
We'll make it as quick as possible. So welcome back, I guess, first of all, to all the councillors and mayor for winning the election and back at the realms again, and for the new ones that have joined up, welcome. We'll work together as teamwork. Part of what I wanted to touch base on, maybe I'll start first just with a bit of my background. So years ago when I was on the trades, I'm a journeyman carpenter, journeyman scaffolder by trade. And we built the Alpac pulp mill, and at the Alpac pulp mill, my first year apprentice, Toomey Hayes, was killed. He fell to his death and left behind a wife and a young baby. So his 4 men died on that project. So I walked away from my construction background, and I went to university, and I got my education in occupational health and safety. There were actually, I don't know if the record books go back that far, but when I was a member of the fire department here, I was also your safety codes officer in the fire discipline, because I did a fire codes inspection on the 6-plex, or maybe it's the 8-plex, I can't remember how many it has in there. So part of my background in safety as well, I was a Canadian Registered Safety Professional. That's a designation here in Canada that requires university education before you can go and write it. I was also a construction safety advisor through the ACSA. So I've got background in what I want to share with you guys tonight. We're hoping that maybe we can look at some resolution for next year. So this doesn't have to be an immediate thing, but I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention so we can have some discussion on it, what makes it best for Redwater and for the kids. So I'm going to start for the beginning here. We live right across from New Ilderick. We're the only house that faces New Ilderick. We've got a 6-foot Icatonia house. Their fence goes around there. We on our deck, we sit and can hear everything in town. We hear conversations, we hear all kinds of things. One thing I do want to make mention, whether it's from the town foreman or somebody giving them direction, bang up job on keeping that tourist area nice and clean. I don't think there's ever been a concern that I've had in the last number of years where we used to always have challenges with dandelions and garbage and things like that. But I've listened to some of the folks that have been talking over there when they're going and having a look at their gardens that they've planted. That little bit of work that you guys did was a very good positive for Redwater. So we've had people that that have come for visits, or we've gone over to just check if they're okay. Sometimes Carl parked there and be there for hours on end. We didn't see anybody leave or whichever the case was. So one of the things that's happening now is we've got the skateboard park, which I think I've talked to Mr. McCrager before. I know that Redwater, what the goal is hopefully get some commercial groups or companies or whatever to help in with some money towards building maybe a permanent skate park for the folks that love to do that. So what's happening right now, the skateboard park, the first thing that we recognized right off the bat, and especially when we've had a couple of hockey tournaments, people that aren't from Redwater, they come screaming in from the front of the building through that little area where the skateboard park is, and I'm talking way too fast. I just caught the news this morning that there's a little 5-year-old boy just got killed in Edmonton. Got run over by a vehicle, and just it happens that quick. So one of the things that we're looking at is, okay, what do we do that can make it safer for these kids? And the first thing I looked at was, okay, we've got a speedway now in front of our house. So when they come from the corner of the oil derrick, they pin her right down to the curve. I mean, when my truck was stolen here 2 years ago, that was the last thing I saw of my truck was the taillights as I went around the corner. But we do have a beautiful picture of it driving right past the RCMP station before they took it away and shredded it. So a couple things I was looking at is what do we do that's not overly financial burden to us, but that recognizes what we need to do. So usually what has to happen is the work that we do in a municipality, we also have to make a decision and have some kind of a rating system on how unsafe is this, because we'll have a list of things right to the bottom of chewing gum left on the sidewalk. But we want to look at which ones are a priority. So the skateboard park to me right now is a priority. The small concrete blocks that are in there, it was a good effort. If people would be able to at least park up against there. But again, the traffic that we watched here with the last hockey tournament, there's nobody watching out for that. And we've got kids playing in the outdoor arena. They go into the doors inside there and whatever on earth they do inside. What can we do better? So if we don't have the finances to build a new one yet, is it feasible maybe to move it? Because one of the things that we've been pretty patient on is the noise that thing makes. Like, it must be a galvanized metal or something that's on the floorboards, because we hear the bang with their skates every time they go up to the top. We get it all, and I know it sounds selfish, but it's true. We can't even usually sit and enjoy a night with visiting friends in our own yard because of the noise. And Dwayne, one of the things we made mention what we did when we were kids. That's why we haven't raised any issues or concern until today, where we could talk for the plan for next year, for next summer. I don't know if anybody's thought feasibly if it's worthwhile putting it in one of the recreational areas where the swings and stuff are. Like, we've got a couple of them here in town that are off to the side. Or is there something else we can do better to protect these kids from vehicle traffic in that area? So that's number one issue. The second issue as well, again, most of the time an employer is to have a look and make a decision on what are the difficulties, what are the risks out there, and what's the chances of something going sideways. So because we've got people speeding down our road, I did talk to one individual here recently, and apparently we used to have a speed bump on the other side of town that was installed. One of the things that I found funny, and it's more sitting down having a drink and laughing about it, when I worked in Iran, that's how Iran controls their speed limits. On the highways as well, you'll come flying down at $120, and there's 2 flags coming at you. And if you don't slow down for those flags, your undercarriage is gone. And you'll roll that vehicle, and somebody's probably going to die. We've seen a number of wrecked vehicles. So is that something we could look at, folks? Like anywhere, just I'm thinking around the school, around the swimming pool. Is there something we can do to improve the roadways, the slow people down? I mean, Edmonton has gone to, 40 kilometers per hour in any residential area? Now, the unfortunate part is then we still rely on our police department to enforce that, and I know they've probably got their hands full with a number of things to deal with, but how else can we do it? So usually when we find a hazard, the best thing we can do is get rid of the hazard, number one. If that's not feasible, then we try to look at engineering. Okay, well, what's out there that makes it safer for our situation here in Redwater? What would make it easier? Should we put speed bumps in there, paint them bright yellow every year or something so that people will slow down when they're coming down the blocks? Maybe that's an alternative. I'm not sure what else to look at. Okay, so we talked about the speed limits, yep, maybe even moving it over to the tennis court. And I know that's the location where they're looking to put it permanent, but maybe that's a place we can stay off there. Now, one thing I wasn't quite sure of, and I was very happy to see, as I mentioned, the signs going up on the buildings, because we had the kids, the folks have been climbing on top of buildings. In previous years, we've had them climbing the derrick, and I just mentioned to my wife tonight, I said, you know what? I don't recall one incident of anybody climbing that derrick. So that's a great job, whatever it is that you guys have done for it, it's worked. We've got people not even, they're talking about it, they're looking about it, we can hear the conversations, but they're not going up, which is good, because that's the last thing we want to do. A question I would ask, and I'd have to do some research on it myself, but when we look at providing a toy or something of this nature, like the skateboard park, is there anything that the town should look at for making mandatory? If you're going to be on a skateboard park, you must have a helmet, you should have knee pads. We've only had to do first aid twice this year, and both of them were the ones, was a little young girl, maybe about 4 years old, and she split her front of her head, wasn't very good after she hit the pavement. Is that something that the town should look at as well, just for a liability case? If somebody gets on there, do we put up a sign, or here's what the requirements are before you can play on these swings, or before you can do this, or before you can do that, so that at least the community is covered if something does happen, if we do have a serious injury. That's the last thing I want to do, is see Redwater's name in the Edmonton Journal, for a fatality or something like that. Okay, so we've done the interface, yep. Yep. I think that's pretty well laid out what our concern is. So the speeding is a concern, the safety for the folks that are using the equipment, and is there a better place to put it here in town where it's getting it away from vehicle traffic? That's my biggest risk. And the only other issue we haven't seen much of it this year, which has been good, but we've had enough issues, and it would be a lot of work. I'm almost tempted to offer them a free assistance, but it might it might go sideways. One of the things that we found out where the outdoor skating rink is, it's built like I grew up as a kid. Roof over the top so you could put your skates on and get your gear on already, away from this, the light or whatever the case is. It can be snowing, it's not going to bother you when you're putting your skates on. But one of the things that we've had happen here is we've had multiple drug deals going on. I'm pretty sure they're drug deals, because there's the odd time I'll go over there with my flashlight. Now I can know that they're smelling weed or they got vape pens or whatever. But what we're concerned about is as well the drug deals that have been going on in there, because you can't see past the boards. You can't see anybody in there. It's funny to chat about it, but we actually caught people enjoying coitus, looking for which word I could use, on the inside of the arena. Because again, you can't see anything in there, you can't see anybody. So is that something we could ever look at, maybe just cutting down that 8-foot section so it's a 4-foot section all the way around the boards? Now that takes care of that issue. You can't hide in there. So when we see the RCMP make their tours, or when we see the Citizens on Patrol make their tours, they come down through there, but there was one officer that was here a bunch of years ago. I think, Dave, you and I touched base with that individual. And we were having a little fire pit outside of our home. We heard a noise over at the swimming pool. So I grabbed my 4D flashlight and took off running through the yards, thinking somebody's vandalizing our pool. Well, when I got around the back of the chain link fence, I could hear something moving. I jumped out with my flashlight, and all of a sudden I got shot in the eyes with the flashlight, and here was a constable. That was the old RCMP station, used to be over in the other corner. And I'm going, what are you doing out here? He said, Mr. Schmidt, he said, I can hear everything in this town going on just simply by walking from the detachment downtown, or wherever I need to be, and he said, I can hear whatever's going on. I thought, you know what, that is awesome. I'm glad to hear you get out of your vehicle. You're actually listening and looking, and that has been a bit of a frustration. Like I said, that's like even the Citizens on Patrol. It's got to be difficult if you see something going on or whatever the case is. I know how busy these guys in uniform are. That one vehicle we found that was stolen, it must have taken 3 hours until we could get an officer out to deal with those things, fix those things. So That's the only thing, so I'm looking at that, again, focusing on that back corner, so we've got the skateboard park issues. Thank you. Sure doesn't take long to burn that time off, does it?
No, 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yeah. So that's what my biggest concern is. That's the only issues we're having there. Otherwise, I'm really happy with what you guys have done, the garden areas, that type of thing, and we're gonna keep an eye out for vandalism and go over there and speak to the young kids when they understand that stealing a carrot is still stealing. That's somebody's carrot that planted it. Come back and ask, the person that planted it, can you have one? That's all you gotta do. I've had kids in my yard helping themselves to crab apples. And I've gone out and had a chat with them. And I told them, I says, all you gotta do is come ring on the doorbell. Sir, ma'am, could we have a few apples? By all means. All you gotta do is just learn that principle, so. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. And again, this was again meant just for something, if we can start chatting about it, talking about it, give it some thought, and see what we can do to improve it, that'd be great. If I come up with anything else, I'll definitely be on the horn to somebody from the council here, see what we can do.
Mr. Schmidt, first of all, thank you for coming and talking to us. That's the anomaly that we need to overcome. We have an awful lot of people who will discuss a problem or an issue or a focus, and they never discuss it in front of us, and we don't have the opportunity to try our best to make it work. So first of all, thank you very much for stepping in and giving us your presentation. I know you have talked to most of council individually at the pre-election campaign, so that's important. Having Nathan here to hear this helps. He has a program called the hotspot checking. So he may be filtering some of this information back to his crew to help out. And some of the things you talked about, we have talked about as council as well during informal presentations or before the meeting, some of the stuff we talked about tonight. So thank you again for coming. And do not be shy. If you have that issue, you know how to contact Miranda, and we'd be more than happy to have you here to listen to what you want to tell us.
Now, everybody heard you've invited me.
No,
I know.
I'm not worried about that. I do control the clock.
That's absolutely great to hear. And now that I'm semi-retired, now I've got a little more time to focus on home here. I've been here over 20 years in Redwater and have no plans on leaving unless it's to someplace much warmer.
Good. Thank you very much for coming.
No worries.
Okay. That takes us out of agenda item number 6. You're welcome to hang around and listen to the rest of this, or if you want to head out, feel free, whatever works best for you.
No, I sit back and heckle. I mean, by all means.
We just ask you slide to the back row for the remainder. That's all. Agenda item 7.1. Sergeant Dehan, we're in your hands.
I'm up, am I? All right. All right, so here I am presenting on quarter 2 of the 2025-2026 fiscal year. Just a reminder, council, that our fiscal year runs April through March. So our quarter 2 is July, August, September of the 2025 year so far. Still waiting for presentation? All right, so just a quick cap on our annual priority plans for this year. So the first priority plan that we had designed was crime reduction and prolific offenders and drugs. So with that, we have 4 subs. The first one, proactive interaction with prolific offenders. I'm excited, I guess, to say that we are monitoring only 4 prolific offenders at this point. A lot of them have moved out of our area. However, since doing this presentation, I found 2 more that we will be focusing on here now, as they have moved into our area. During the second quarter, we did do 2 offender checks, and both were in compliance with their conditions that they were released on. The second sub is warrant executions. We executed 8 arrest warrants during that second quarter. It's important to note that the second quarter is also summertime, so a lot of members are off on holidays, so we're shorter staffed during that time. So, hotspot patrols, we did complete a total of 160 documented patrols. There's a lot that still are not documented. I'm trying to get on everybody to document every patrol they do, but obviously if they're driving through town, they're not going to say, oh, I drove through town 35 times tonight, right? So it's mostly just documented as one. And remember, those hotspot patrols are identified by calls for service, suspicious persons, things like was just brought up earlier, areas of town that we can patrol and try to reduce crime, or at least show some colors that we're out there and out and about. So, and to increase proactive CDSA, so Controlled Drugs and Substance Act investigations, and we had 2 CDSA investigations during the second quarter. I believe one was cocaine and one was methamphetamine. So, next slide. Second priority plan was community engagement. So far, we've held no town hall meetings. We usually hold them in the fall and the winter. We're actually talks with Sturgeon County. They want to do a joint one here with Redwater, and we're actually looking at doing a virtual town hall. We're going to try this out. I just got preview of some of the information today. Basically, we'll be doing something with like MS Teams, where several different detachments can get together and present. And not only will members or the public be able to log into it, they'll also be able to type in their phones to put in questions that they want to ask. We're also looking at setting up some viewing centers for people who are not tech savvy or don't have the applications, so they can sit in these text viewing locations and ask questions through that as well. And there'll be a mediator at each location. So we're going to see if this works. We're in the planning stages right now, so we'll see what happens with that. We're hoping for December, if not early January for that. Our total interactions with community groups were 11 interactions. I'll explain some of those a little bit later on. That has to do with things like COPs, Rural Crime Watch, and stuff like that. Our media briefs and rave callouts. So we do a weekly rave Wednesday to Wednesday. Does everybody receive that in this office, or anybody? Yeah. Anybody receive the Wednesday to Wednesday? Okay, so you're getting it. I don't seem to get them anymore. They used to come to my phone, and now I don't. But I know we're putting them out. So
They haven't been coming out lately.
no, I got Kim doing it every Wednesday now, so I'll have to check into it.
I think the last one I've had locally was about 2 weeks ago. I've also been getting the Morinville ones regularly. And just because of interest, I also get the Drumheller ones when they come out, so.
Yeah, we didn't for a little bit there because Dylan was off work, and he was the one that was privy to the rave program. But since then, one of our front counter staff has learned about it, and so she's putting them out every Wednesday. She's also in charge of our social media account, our Facebook page. For those that haven't signed into that, feel free to sign in. And if you don't know, I can send a QR code to council, or to Ken, actually. You can send it out to council so that you guys can just log in. It's pretty interesting. She really likes to put those out, little media briefs on what's going on in the area. She likes to do little cartoons and stuff as well. So, next slide. Our third priority is enforcement, visibility, and communities. So our total violation tickets issued during the second quarter was only 37 tickets and 32 warnings. I have addressed this with my staff. We're going to try to increase this. Usually we used to be around 100 and some, but that did include some of the traffic members that were working overtime in our area. And then since they haven't been working overtime, they don't focus on traffic as much. We've been kind of busy with calls. The Highway 2863 initiatives, we had 5 total initiatives. This includes everything from joint enforcement initiatives on Highway 28 and Highway 63, but also members have been setting up a lot at 224 and 28, just because we're having a lot of people blow through that stop sign. We're trying to really slow traffic down there. So we've had them just sitting up there doing radar and laser, and it's amazing how many tickets they're actually getting or how many people they're stopping for it. So, and we did 1 proactive check stop during that second quarter. We hope to increase that during the winter months as we get closer to the holiday season. So, next slide. And our last annual priority plan was member employee wellness and respect. So we had a total of 3 team building activities, 2 of which are monthly physical fitness challenge, which is always fun. Every day at noon, the buzzer goes off and everybody has to get up and do a little physical fitness designed by the girls up front, whether it be knee raises or something to that effect. We also had a funny t-shirt exchange, which, as you can see, everybody's standing there in their funny t-shirts. You can't really read what some of them say, and that might be a good thing you can't read them, what they say. But we made them all go out in public, go to a restaurant and wear them. As you can see, the 2 boys on the right there with their thong t-shirts were always fun to watch. They were pretty embarrassed, so One didn't wear a shirt. He was too embarrassed to wear it, so I don't even want to know what was on that shirt. So. Next slide. And our community engagement, we do things like Coffee with a Cop, COP, Rural Crime Watch meetings, meeting with, Meet the Community Night. We had a booth set up at Meet the Community Night. I wasn't able to attend myself, but I know Constable Lamab was there, and he's always a funny person to deal with. He really liked it, had a lot of fun, and Kim was there setting up the system. So we do a bunch of school visits. We attended the COP ACOPA event. That's Riker there in uniform presenting at the ACOPA event. I presented there as well. But as far as the feedback I heard, they had a great time with Riker. He's a hilarious constable, so he's always fun to listen to. And we had the Pioneer Club fashion show. This one was kind of funny because we had a overtime member come in along with one of our members, and he didn't know it, but he was walking models down the aisle. So we had to put him to work for doing overtime at our detachment area. So I don't know if he'll ever come back, but we're told he had fun. So the next slide. We get into our stats for this quarter two. So in 2025, we had a total of 710 calls for service in the Redwater Detachment. That includes all 3 of our district areas. Out of those 710, 160 were in the town of Redwater itself. In comparison of 2024, we had 828 calls in the quarter 2 of 2024, and 267 of them were in Redwater. So we're down 15% of call volume. So just to focus on some of the stats, persons crime went down from 53 to 33, so we're down 38% on that one, calls for service. Property crime, which is what we're dealing with most of the time, went from 165 to 94, so a great decrease there. We went down 43%. Other criminal code investigations went from 24 to 19, which is down 21%. And our total criminal code investigations during the quarter 2 was 242, and it went down to 146 for this last quarter 2 of this year. That's down 40%. Traffic offenses, criminal code traffic went from 13 to 9, which is down 31%. Provincial code traffic went from 485 to 310, which is down 36%. That does encompass the Redwater traffic services as well, but it goes to show that they are out there in our area and writing tickets as well. I know my detachment members aren't writing as many tickets as they should be because we've been tied up with calls and short-staffed, but the traffic members are out there. They are annoying the public as they're supposed to, and they seem to enjoy doing it. That's why they're traffic members, I guess. And other traffic went from 0 to 2, which I don't really think that's 100% because I don't think it can be a percentage above 0, but it increased 2 over the other ones. So that could be anything from dangerous driving to basically criminal code traffic would be dangerous driving, but other traffic could be municipal kind of infractions and stuff that we see. Next slide. Common police activities in the area. So false alarms went from 12 to 10 calls for service, down 17%. False abandoned 911 calls went up from 18 to 26, which is 44%. Nice thing about that, they're false. They just take a lot of time to investigate because you got to track down the phone, track down who they are, and we have to see them in person to make sure that they are okay. They can always go on the phone and say we're fine, but no, we got to see you. So they do take time. Suspicious persons, vehicle or property went from 79 to 38. I know I harp on this every time, but I encourage the public to call those in because that is what identifies our hotspot patrol areas, are these suspicious vehicles. And case in point, just the other day we had a guy that had a suspicious vehicle in his property. Found out they were trying to break in. We ended up working with Morinville and tracked him down, found him at Bonaccord and 3 prolific offenders, not from our area, from all over the place, who had serious criminal records, were all arrested. So it was a great outcome at the end of that. And they all had warrants, lots and lots of warrants. Persons reported missing went down from 5 to 1. Search warrants, we actually did 2 search warrants. I know in your stat sheets that you guys all received, it says 0 search warrants. I'm not sure how I have to code it so that it shows up there. The search warrants never seem to show up on the stat sheet, it always just shows zeros. But we did do 2 search warrants during that time. Both were for stolen property. Reported disposal abuse went from 34 down to 21, so down 38%. That's nice to see. And our Form 10s went down from 2 to 1, which is also nice to see because, well, they're so time consuming. They're about 5-6 hours apiece. So, and Form 10s, for anyone that doesn't know, of course, are when someone is actually formed under the Mental Health Act and apprehended under the Mental Health Act and brought into a care facility of some sort. All right. And quick and fast, went through it, so open to questions. Anybody's got some?
Anything for Sergeant Dehan from council or administration?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, if I could. So, Sergeant Dehan, you and I meet basically on a monthly basis. What's your staffing levels at right now?
Okay, so right now, we're supposed to, we have no hard vacancies. So we have 6 constables, a corporal, and a sergeant at our detachment, and 3 front counter staff. All 3 front counter staff are working, except for one right now is away with her mother being ill, so she's been away for a week. As for the constables, we have 2 soft vacancies, which means they could be off for mat leave, pat leave, medical, sick leave, suspension, could be for any of those reasons. So we were down to 5 constables, or 4 constables. We were down a corporal there for a while, but Dylan has since returned to work, which is nice to see. He was gone for about 2 months there, so he has returned just the other day. I'm very happy with that because I have been swamped doing both of our jobs for the last little while, and poor Jake has been acting in his spot, and he's trying to do everything. And we have a new member that started with us, Amanpreet Sani, Constable Amanpreet Sani. She's looking really good. She's gung-ho, which is really nice to see coming out of depot. She seems to ask great questions, and people like. Everybody's been really raving about how great she's doing so far. She's only been in for 2 weeks. She will be replacing Constable Sarang Gruwal, though, who has been transferred out. She won't be leaving until Constable Sani is up to her full 6 months, and she's off field training. So then we'll be losing manager on things. So we'll still always have the 2 soft vacancies for now. We'll have 5 constables for a little while, but we'll be back down to 4 once.
So how do excuse me, so how do you deal with the soft vacancies? Like, is that just a void in your staffing complement, or is there any part-time assistance from other detachments that come?
So just recently, and we'll be getting them at the end of November, is K Division identified a relief team that they've started. There'll be 28 members. Right now they only have 8 members, but it's going to be a complement of 28 members that can go out and relieve some of these smaller detachments for weeks at a time. Because we're actually better than some detachments, and we're down pretty good. I know Barhead right now is down to like 3 constables, and one's leaving for pat leave right away, and they are just suffering. They will not backfill the positions because they're soft vacancies, as much as we've tried and tried and tried. But we will have the relief team out here, at least 1 member from the relief team, possibly 2, for a week there at the end of November to help us out, because we have members leaving on holidays. And lately, we've also been really utilizing other detachments and trying to work as a team. So we've had Morinville come in and help us. We just last night, we had, last night, the night before, we had both Morinville, Westlock, and Fort Sask members up in our area dealing with the domestic that was a bit of a serious nature. They just all flocked to the scene and help us out, so that's always nice to see as well. So.
Sorry, the reason for the ask is we were granted a meeting with senior admin from K Division at Alberta Munis, and just wanted to know if there's any way that we could help you get the message through, I guess.
I think that's going to be a hot topic, because I've heard that from other council, from other communities as well, that they'll be looking at the exact same questions. I think everybody's just tired of soft vacancies. And like, I remember working in Sherwood Park, and I think it was a 24% soft vacancy rate, and that's a big number when you got 100 and some members, right? So it's a lot of members off work.
Okay.
Anything else from council? A little later on in our correspondence, we do have a bigger synopsis of the work you're doing and what have you. In that report, you made mention of the fact that there was a recording problem with the CDSA statistics, and that they were actually different than what was being reported. Are you going to be seeing a stronger CDSA number coming forward?
What we're seeing is a lot of response. So we arrest somebody for something, and then they happen to have narcotics or something on them, right? That's what we're seeing. We're not seeing a lot of actual large-scale drug houses in this town. There are some in the community that are some of our target spots that we've been dealing with. We talk to SCAN and try to identify a few of them. But the biggest problem with SCAN, as I know we've heard it before, is that it just pushes the problem to the next house next door. It doesn't really stop them from doing anything, and we can't arrest on SCAN when they go in to search the house or anything, right? But if public sees drug houses, I do encourage, and I hope that this goes out to everybody that hears, to call us up and tell us about these drug houses. There's always Crime Stoppers as well, if you want to remain anonymous. Tell us where these houses are, what you're seeing, and then we can start focusing our investigations into them. We do have a couple that we're looking at. They're just low scale. It's a matter of actually getting some time to enforce it. So.
Not seeing anything else, I'll thank you once again for coming and being part of our council meeting. We do appreciate it when you show up every quarter and tell us, in my opinion, how you're impacting on our community, and I think it's positive all across the board. I'm very pleased to see the interaction with community groups, and especially our schools. I think that's a huge step, and so thank the folks at the detachment for everything they're doing, and let us know if we can help in any way.
Excellent. Thanks for having me, everybody. It was great.
Thanks again. Takes us to 7.2. We have our new school trustee. Shannon is here to talk to us. First-time trustee, I think.
Yes.
Congratulations on your win at the poll. And the floor is open, so please.
All right. As a representative of the Sturgeon School Division, there were a couple of things that the superintendent wanted me to bring forward to you. So the first thing she had talked about was that there was a discussion last year, and I don't know if any of you remember it, but she said she had talked to the town council about the possibility of finding a builder in the community to have a group of students help build a house from start to finish. This is happening in St. Albert. So right now, 2 of our Redwater students are actually being transported to St. Albert to help out with that. So they're getting credits and things like that. And so she was wondering if that could be a possibility for the town of Redwater itself, instead of them having to go all the way to St. Albert to participate in a project like that. And then she asked if there were any other connections to businesses that could help get our students on career pathways earlier. Like as if they were, if they're still in junior high and there's something they could do. I have no idea, again, about this because I haven't ever, been in this position, but it was very intriguing. Now, the purpose of all of this is that she said she wants the school division to be able to help the town to grow. And because the schools tend to be the heart of these small communities. So the second thing that she wanted me to let you know was that there is a possibility of a new school for Redwater. So what they would like to do, and we're a new board, right? So I can't say we're doing this for sure because the rest of the board has to agree. I'm just one person without any power. But anyway, the board, it may be considering a solution for Redwater and Ochre Park where they would build one school to replace the 2. Now, why that would be good is because then it's more cost efficient to run a K-12 school as opposed to 2 separate schools in the town. I don't know if you had heard about that before, but I thought it was I thought it was pretty neat when I found out about it, when she told me about that last week. So the school division will be reaching out to the town council to see if there's a way that we can work together. It says we will be looking for partnerships to see if the new school could include services run by the town. You have a very beautiful building right here, but she had mentioned like putting the library in the school, in the new school, or town offices or any other services. So that's just a suggestion that she had. And that's all that I had to say, just those two main points, just to work together so that we could maybe make a difference for our kids and keep them here. Because boy, as a teacher, when I was teaching in Redwater, I really found it difficult to see all those kids get on the bus to Sturgeon. And if we had a new school here, then they would be able to build all of the nice, labs and things like that, where they would be able to do shop and all those different kinds of things. And I think that we're starting, because I know Scott Bruegel was doing a shop program before. I don't know if he is anymore. I think they may have somebody else. But that keeps our kids here. And that's what I want. I want to see those students stay here because we have a great town and we want to be able to, have people go through the school, graduate, go get their education and come back and help out somehow. So that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them, for sure.
Shannon, thank you very much for coming and talking with us. Mr. Van Buell and I had the opportunity a couple of years ago now. We attended a forum put on by Sturgeon School Division with respect to the longevity and ability of the school division as far as physical resources went, as far as schools, what needed upgrading, what didn't, and they were prioritizing and what have you. And at that time, we weren't on the list of any sort for any new buildings. It was what our current buildings could give us, sort of thing. So the fact there's a different idea being considered is interesting, to say the least. And thankfully, Ms. Lane is here with us tonight in another capacity. She's our economic development land use bylaw coordinator. And I've been with her on a number of occasions. We've gone to some of our local businesses to do a business survey. And during those meetings, she's very confident and capable of bringing the RAP program forward in her conversation to our local industry and business. So a couple of those boxes we're trying to work already kind of on our own, but in conjunction with the school because they have been here. The first one I hadn't heard of actual building of housing and what have you, but I kind of assumed that might have been the conversation with respect to RAP and how we would get our young people involved in some of the trades that would be involved in building those houses and what have you. So interesting conversation. But council, anything for Ms. Berkner?
I will add one other thing.
Yep.
During the years that I was a teacher here, from 2008 to 2020, I heard over and over again how they wanted to close Redwater School. They wanted to close. They being the Board of Trustees, school division-ish. This is beautiful because now that's not what they want. The school division, Shauna Warren, does not want to shut Redwater School. She wants the high school to be here. So that's like powerful, I felt, because I know that's what I heard year after year after year, and I'm sure some of you with kids in the school had the same sort of knowledge, right? So anyway, that's one other thing I wanted to say.
Shannon, one of the, sorry, go ahead, Trina.
Before we lose track, or before I lose track of my thoughts, I just wanted to say that I have been in dialogue with Ms. Warren, and so we have spoken about the St. Albert, and I did reach out to our business community for any potential construction workers or developers or that sort of thing, and I think we only had one response that came back from that, and they did reach out to you directly. I don't know what happened after that, but the message was sent out there. I think the only other, and we can talk about this too on a different level, I think maybe perhaps getting the chamber involved, when they do their annual sort of job fair kind of thing when they do that, maybe working in conjunction with them. And then we also have our annual business social that we also do as well. But we are aware of the St. Albert, and I did attend also in Morinville, Sturgeon County, and we were talking about this RAP program, and the big question around the table is what happened? What happened to it? Why can't we reinstate it? So it is out there. People are hearing. So, but yes, you can also reach out to me here in the
Okay.
office. I'd love to have further conversation.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Jen, one of the dilemmas we have coming up, I will probably be seeing you Thursday night
Yes.
at the awards ceremony. And our deputy mayor is going to be at the Composite High School, Sturgeon Comp, for their award ceremony the same night at the same time. So it creates conflict. I did ask the question, and I haven't been able to find an answer. Can you tell us at some point in time if you have to ask questions yourself?
Every team there were, I mean, would we have a football team for 4 years, 3 years or something? And, you know, it was easier to play with your thumbs football than it was to play the actual.
Councillor Smith, go
Thank you,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor. And with those numbers, could you also tell us how many are importing into Redwater?
Okay.
Important.
Okay, so
Okay.
I know what that means. We have, I know my daughter, specifically Kristen, brings both of her kids, or has both of her kids come to Redwater, and she is in the Bonaccord school area. So she's one, and I imagine there are others for sure, but yeah, people are coming in because they prefer a smaller school, or just the community, I guess.
Anything, go ahead, Mr. Van Buell.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, just a quick reminder, and this was a quick reminder for me because I know it hasn't hit back on my radar, but recent changes to the provincial statutes, I guess, and regulations require us now to have a joint use and planning agreement with the school division. We call it a JUPA. And that agreement was supposed to be signed originally back in 2024, and the province gave us an extra 1 year, sorry. So 2 years. No, they give us 2 years. Because it's now June 2026 that we have to have it. And I have had preliminary discussions with, I don't think they're contractor for the school division, I believe, is how it works. So I have had those. The previous council, we had some real preliminary discussions about how we wanted to structure that. And it's just a matter of getting down. There was no major roadblocks, so it's just a matter of getting back at it now that the election's over and getting pen to paper so that we'll have something for council. And I would say preferably in the first quarter of 2026.
I know that's one of our council committees.
Yep.
Response. Go ahead.
Just wanted to add on, sorry, with all the awareness with the provincial government in educating our youth for trades and construction trades and that sort of thing, I do know for sure Nate is willing to come to our municipality to offer those trades, whether it's virtual or in person.
Anything else? Great first step. Thank you for making it and coming to visit us. It's been 2 years since we sat with the full board, council and board together at the same table. Please extend the invitation. I think that would be a wonderful connection method for all of us to sit. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't a big agenda or anything like that, but it was a way for us to put names to faces and issues on the table, sort of thing. So, go ahead, Mr. Van Buren.
Sorry, if you could, I just have one comment to make about the meeting that we had, and it was back in 2000 and, I want to say 22.
4 years ago. Yeah, 4.
The meeting that the school division coordinated, and it was a fantastic meeting. What it did was it brought people from Alberta Education and the board together to say, this is the process that's involved in getting a new school built. Here's the numbers that we have to do, here's the, right, and here's the ratios that we deal with and all the rest. So it gave everybody in that room a real clear understanding about what it takes to build a new school, what it takes to add on to a school, and and quite frankly, what it takes, what happens before a school gets closed. And with a new school board and new councils all over, again, it would have been just after a year after the previous council was in place that that meeting happened, which again coincides with that 1 year for the school board trustees as well. If I could ask Shauna for one thing, another meeting like that, just to update where the school division's at with their plans on schools throughout the division, because it went through Bonaccord and Morinville and it went through everything, and it was highly, in my opinion anyways, highly it gave us some good information to help us with those planning areas around what are we gonna do if our school needs to be replaced, what do we do? What do we have to do? What are we responsible for as a municipality? What's the school board responsible for? And so just an update on that would be highly beneficial, I think, for not just for our council, but for all councils.
And interestingly enough, it sounds like because of the teacher strike and all of the things that went down with that, there's a push to build schools. So things are going to be fast-tracked, as far as I understood from what has been coming out in some of the information that we've been getting as trustees and as a school division. So, yeah, that would be a powerful thing to get together.
I can safely say, because we're in the middle of budgets right now, there are some financial requirements for the municipality whenever a school is built now. And fast tracking is wonderful, but we're gonna need some time to put those dollars in place in order to support that.
Well, I know that
And the last thing we'd want is to be in a position where the province says yes, the school division says yes, and we go, we can't, right? So understanding where we are in the process is I think, critical to supporting that.
absolutely. I think that what the fast track means is that the government is going to give money in stages. And so that is something that I didn't know how they do, build schools, but the only experience I've had is with the Smoky Lake School, the new one that was there. But from what Shauna was saying, it sounds like there's a whole completely different way of building schools, and they're giving money here to get this started, then they're giving money for this next step, and so on and so forth. And I didn't know if that was the way it was done before, but it sounded like it was something new.
Super. Again, thank you for coming. We look forward to our next meeting. Thursday, we'll be probably sitting in the same row, so
Yeah.
I look forward to that. And please thank Shauna for her information, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Janet, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
That moves us to 8.1 on our agenda, which is the minutes of the regular council meeting of October the 7th. Councillor Crosby?
I move that the minutes of October 7th, 2025 regular council meeting be adopted with the following amendments. Under 13.1, Resolution 25-317, the motion was made by Councillor Butcher, and there is no unanimous voting to follow it.
Which one? 13.
I see the chart is missing out of that,
And Councillor Butcher's not there.
and Councillor Bush. Correct. Everyone okay with that? It's just a formatting error there. So the motion is that the minutes be accepted with that amendment. Any other errors or omissions? Seeing any, I'll call that question. All in favor? Any opposition? Sorry, Councillor Smith, I didn't see your hand, so I didn't see it. Okay, good. So that's carried. October 16th. Special council meeting of October the 16th. We have the meeting minutes. Councillor Olson?
I'll make the motion that we accept the minutes from the special council meeting dating October 16th, 2025 as presented.
Call that question. All in favor? Sorry, I forgot to ask for errors or omissions, but no one spoke. October 28th, the organizational meeting of October 28th. Councilor Butcher?
I'd like to make the motion.
Okay. Motion to accept the organizational minutes of October 28th. Any errors or omissions? Councillor Olson?
In the title, organizational meeting dated October 28th, 2025, 0600 PM. If we're gonna use the 24-hour clock, use the 24-hour clock, not
A combination of
combination of the two.
either 6 PM or 1800
Yeah.
hours. Okay. Are you agreeable to that as a friendly
Yes, I am, Your Worship.
amendment? So the motion would be to accept the minutes as amended. Discussion, other errors or omissions? See any, I'll call that question. All in favor? And that's carried. And it looks like the committee of the whole meeting of October 28th, the minutes are the last item on that agenda. Councillor Cosby?
I would like to move the committee of the whole meeting minutes of October 28th with the following amendments. Under 10.2, there's no chart and no unanimously voting there under 10.2.
Okay.
Under 10.3.1, again, it just does not say carried unanimously.
And as well, the starting time of the meeting being a combination of AM, PM, and hours, so, okay.
Mr. Mayor, just one quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
Does council prefer the 24-hour clock or the AM PM clock? Which would you prefer to see in the minutes?
24,
I'm good with 24.
like AM, PM.
Got an AM, PM at 24:24.
I'm getting used to this.
Councillor Brown, any preference on your side?
24 is fine.
24. Councillor Smith?
I can live with it, sure.
It appears the 24-hour clock would be appreciated
That change.
or acceptable. Okay. Any other errors or omissions for the meeting minutes? Not seeing any, I'll call that question. All in favor? And so that's carried. All right. Bylaws, 10.1, we have,
Mr. Mayor,
yes,
can the CAO request a bio break for?
yes. We did have several presentations and what have you. Councillor Olson, you're looking for a recess?
I'll make a motion that we have a 5-minute recess.
Thank you. Discussion? Call that question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
My apologies.
Can we turn the heat up?
That's cute.
Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order. And we are at 10.1, the bylaw PD 022025. And I believe that, Ms. Lane, we're in your hands.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Correction on that, it is just called PD-02-2025.
Okay.
So the purpose of this request for decision is to give first reading to said bylaw, being a bylaw amending and consolidating the previous bylaw, PD 01-2023, as amended, being the Town of Redwater's land use bylaw, and schedule the statutory public hearing. Proposed motion is to move that council give first reading to bylaw PD 02-2025, and the second is to move that council schedule the statutory public hearing for bylaw PD 02-2025 for November 24th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m., or as you would call it, is it 18:30?
18:30.
18:30 in council chambers. So administration recommends carrying out the above proposed motions. So a little bit of background for everybody is that the original bylaw to amend the land use bylaw was given third reading on December 19th, 2023, and that was bylaw PD 01-2023. We did some amendments to that bylaw, and we called it PD 01-2024. So miscellaneous amendments was to the original bylaw. And then we did further amendments and called it PD 01-2025, miscellaneous amendments 2. Since the passing of the above bylaws, administration has since identified further amendments to the land use bylaw for consideration. So one of them being bylaw 898, which was a bylaw to amend the land use bylaw 811, which came before bylaw PD 01-2023. It was created for a direct control district DC2 for certain parcels of land within the Willows subdivision. That bylaw was repealed by the new bylaw PD 01-2023. So because of that, we discontinued direct control districts and effectively rezoned certain parcels of land to residential medium density district R-MD, and the proposed direct control district is in line with the alluvium outline plan that was dated June 9th, 2021, that was adopted by council by bylaw July 6th of 2021. So administration has been in consultation with the owners of those lands, of those parcels of lands that were identified in the proposed bylaw, which is Schedule A, and I see in here it also says Schedule B. My apologies, Schedule B has been effectively consolidated as a Schedule A, so that was the map that you see on Schedule A. So there is no Schedule B. And the owners wish to have those certain properties rezoned back to direct control, calling it now DC1 District, the Willows North. Administration drafted the proposed amendments in consultation with the owners, who are in agreement with the proposed changes. So proposed amendments to the land use bylaw that we're proposing today are to amend the maximum height of accessory buildings in various districts throughout the land use bylaw. We are also adding the direct control district, the DC1, the Willows North, and we're amending the land use map, amending and adding a provision within Part 3 of the General Regulations section for fencing in residential districts. And we're providing clarity on corner lots, double fronting lots, and sightline protection areas. So, if you remember, Council discussed and provided direction to administration regarding options for the proposed amendments specific to fences in residential districts at the October 28th, 2025 Committee of the Whole. As a result, we've incorporated amendments into this new bylaw, PD 02-2025, with an opportunity, though, for further amendments prior to second and third reading. And the other thought is to consolidate all the previous amendments into one land use bylaw. So after these amendments go through, it will be consolidated into one complete land use bylaw. There is an attached complete list of the detailed proposed amendments to Land Use Bylaw PD 01-2023. And a red line copy of the bylaw will be provided to council for review prior to the public hearing. And additional motions may be made by council should council wish to contemplate further amendments to the land use bylaw. Our proposed schedule for amendments today, the regular council meeting for first reading and to set the public hearing date and location. Proposed November 24th is the public hearing. December 2nd would be the regular council meeting for second and third reading. And that concludes my report.
Mayor, if I could.
Van Buell?
So November 24th, the proposed public hearing date is actually a Monday. And the reason for the Monday is we have budget deliberations scheduled for the Tuesday. And without knowing how long the public hearing might go, we do have to get our budget deliberations in. So we're proposing the public hearing be held on a separate day.
Council? Councilor Spencer?
I move that council give first reading to bylaw PD 02-2025, a bylaw to amend and consolidate the town of Redwater's land use bylaw PD 01-2023 as amended.
Discussion. Go ahead, Councilor Cosby.
We do have more time to read through this in detailed before we.
My understanding of the process can be corrected by administration is that the first reading is required in order to establish a public hearing. At the public hearing, we hear from members of the public who may support or not support the amendments, and then we are required to have 2 further readings subsequent to that. At each of those readings, including tonight, if there's information that someone would like to add or delete or amend or be considered, that's the purpose of having the first reading. Go ahead, Councilor Spicer.
As well as the public, if there's any amendments they want to see, can bring those, whether it's not just these amendments that they can support or not support. They can bring other amendments that they would like to see as well, right?
It's not an open forum for my garage needs to be 3 feet higher or anything like that. It's the amendments that are being proposed are the discussion points, as far as I understand.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, so this is one of those ones where if the amendments are related to the amendments that are on the board or that are in the bylaw, then yes. But if it's a totally new subject that is not referenced within these amendments, then no.
Okay.
Then, now that doesn't mean those, if somebody comes forward and says, hey, what about this? That doesn't mean we can't initiate a second set of amendments. But it would then require an additional public hearing.
Thanks for the clarification.
Sorry, and one other thing, if there was some proposed amendments that council wanted to consider, the other option, check that. We would have to defeat the bylaw and then bring them back again because the new requirements in the provincial legislation are you cannot hold 2 public hearings on the same bylaw. Oh, sorry, I was gonna say, I had to check myself. We used to do it many years ago. You're not allowed to do it anymore.
The other thing that it's important to consider and be reflective on is that from the time we talked about PD 01-2023, which was the first land use bylaw, we have talked about the fact that this has to be a living document. It can't be entrenched in cement and that's it, nothing else. It has to have a breath to it. It has to have a heartbeat so that if at some point in time an issue comes forward, we can look at it and objectively decide what's good and what's not good. So the fact that there's in amendments to the original bylaw, and the fact that we're proposing more amendments to the bylaw make it, in my mind anyway, a working document that is there for that purpose. So, Ms. Ling?
Thank you. And just as another note to that too, administration has it scheduled in their perpetual calendar to review the land use bylaw at least every 6 months, and are anticipating potentially some more changes, and we do track them.
Okay. Anything else from council?
One other note on that, Mr. Mayor, and the way these amendments come up is, these are discussions that we've had with members of the public that may or may not have gone to MPC for decisions in the past. As an example, the height of the accessory buildings did go to MPC, and there was a variance given, and then we did an amendment to the land use bylaw. Now what we've done is we've transposed that same height into different districts where it makes sense. So that's kind of how the amendments
Come up.
gain their traction before they come to council.
Okay. Anything further from council? Go ahead, Councilor Wilson.
Just through to administration, I'll need a Zoom or Teams invite for that one.
Okay.
There'll be yes that night.
Ah, right, okay. Thank you.
We can do that.
You don't have to.
Not seeing anything else from council? I'll call that question. All in favor of motion 1? That's carried. Councilor Wilson?
Make a motion that council schedule a statutory public hearing for bylaw PD-02-2025 on November 24th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers.
Thank you. Discussion by council? And just as a reminder, the public hearing does have a scheduled format to it, and we look forward to any public input. And after that, that's our time to discuss during second and third readings.
Mr. Mayor,
further?
sorry,
Go ahead.
if I could just make one note, just looking at my calendar here. We have budget meeting scheduled the 25th and the 27th if necessary, correct? So if the 24th, if Councilor Olson's not able to make the 24th, we could do it on the 26th, or does that help you?
Gone all week
Okay.
at gas convention.
So you won't be here for budget?
No. I'll be here Thursday night for in person Thursday night.
Okay,
Wednesday or Tuesday night, I'll be zooming in.
okay. So moving the vote into the 26th doesn't help?
No.
We would clarify for new members, council members, that if they're not, they don't.
Oh, okay. Just to solidify the process and what have you, if you, as we heard from our lawyer the other day, if you're not at a public hearing, or at least the majority of a public hearing, you're not then entitled to vote on the motions that come from that public hearing. So if you have to step out and you miss 10 minutes of a 2-hour meeting, that's not a big deal. If you miss 95 minutes of a 2-hour meeting, that might be a big deal. So, but that's just the process. Thanks for that, Councillor Spicer. So the motion on the floor is for the statutory public hearing on November 24th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Anything else from council? Not seeing anything, I'll call that question. All in favor? And that's carried. We're going into agenda item 11, new business. I believe, Ms. Lane, we're in your hands one more time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. The title of this request for decision is MPC Member at Large Reappointment. So the purpose of this RFD is to reappoint one member at large to the Municipal Planning Commission. The proposed motion is to move that Tyson Senich be reappointed as a member at large of the MPC for a term expiring November 4th of 2027. Administration recommends carrying out the proposed motion. I'm not going to read through all of the background and everything, but Mr. Senich was appointed as a member at large at the November 5th regular council meeting with a term that was expiring November 5th of 2025. During the organizational meeting of October 28th, council designated the following members to the MPC, Councillor Cosby and Councillor Olson. Administration has also confirmed with Mr. Senich on October 27th that he is interested in being reappointed as a member at large until November 4th of 2027. And that concludes my report.
Councillor Cosby.
Move that Tyson Senich be reappointed as a member at large of the Municipal Planning Commission for a term expiring November 4th, 2027.
Thank you. Discussion by council? Go ahead, council.
So I don't know Mr. Senich, so what was the, how did we choose him and how did we go about recommending him again?
Thank you for that. We did have a committee that was set up that was made up of Mayor McRae as well as Councillor Cosby as well as Mr. Olson. We did interviews with interested members of the public, and based on those interviews and discussion thereafter, they were selected.
Okay, thank you.
And just for our new members, if they're not familiar, by creating the land use bylaw, we create a footprint that we've said is acceptable. If I, as a builder of something, fall within that footprint, and I come and see Ms. Lane and I get my permit to build that building or whatever it might be, as long as it fits within that footprint, Ms. Lane has the authority to agree to that. She just signs it off and it's done. If the footprint is too small for what I want and I want a little bit more outside of that footprint, Ms. Lane does not have the authority to agree to that. It has to go to what's called the Municipal Planning Commission, which is 2 members of council and
3 members.
3 members of the general public. At that time, they are presented with the information as to what needs to be adjusted, or the request as to what's to be adjusted. And at that point in time, MPC will make a decision as to whether they will allow that variance or not allow the variance. If I'm correct, Mr. Van Buren, Ms. Lane, help me out on this, but the decision of MPC is
It is appealable.
It is appealable.
it's appealable to, yeah, it's non-binding, it's non-binding, it is appealable to
Intermunicipal, so.
intermunicipal process. That intermunicipal process is, I've never seen, but I understand that it goes. So that's why we have this MPC, as it's called. That's their rule. Okay. Anything I missed on that?
I just wanted to add, just to clarify the little bit extra. So if it's a discretionary nature that's not permitted, or it's listed as discretionary in our land use bylaw, then it needs to go to the Municipal Planning Commission. Or if it's requiring a variance, whether it's a height variance to a fence or a garage or any kind of variance to the setbacks, then it would also have to go to the Municipal Planning Commission.
Yeah, if it doesn't fit. Okay. Any other comments or questions from council? Not seeing any, I'll call that question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you for that. 11.2, Doctor Recruitment and Retention Ad Hoc Committee. Mr. Van Buell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So, as we recall, at the October 28th, that committee of the whole meeting, the issue of doctor recruitment and retention was discussed in both public meeting as well as in a closed session. After lengthy discussions around a number of issues, council asked administration to come back with, the first thing was the creation of an ad hoc committee to deal with doctor recruitment and retention. Which, there's 2 things that have to happen as per our procedure bylaw. One, all our committees are appointed by council as a whole. The second is they all need a terms of reference so that the committee understands what their role is and what they're trying to accomplish. And that's what we're asking today. So the first proposed motion is that council creates the ad hoc committee for the doctor recruitment and retention. Then the second motion is that council approves the attached terms of reference for the doctor recruitment and retention committee. And then the appointments, and I did speak with Mayor McRae before we put this together. The recommendation is, the proposed motion and the recommendation is that council appoints Mayor Dave McRae, Deputy Mayor Paul Brown, and Councillor Mel Smith to the doctor recruitment and retention committee. I think the meat and potatoes of this one is in the terms of reference of the committee. The mandate for the committee, we administratively, we came up with the four main purposes and mandate. The first is to identify and assess community healthcare needs, including factors that influence physician recruitment and retention. This may include outreach and engagement with current and prospective physicians, healthcare providers, and residents to better understand local challenges and opportunities. So basically, we wanted to make it open enough and give the committee a broad enough mandate in terms so that it wasn't just 3 people sitting around a table, giving them the mandate to go talk to the community, go talk to the doctors, and find out what's really going to make a difference, I guess, is the best way to put it. Then the second is research and recommend recruitment and retention strategies, incentives, and partnership opportunities. As we talked the last time we were here, there's a number of different things that are going on within not only Alberta but across Canada, and what different municipalities are prepared to do. So there's a bit of a smorgasbord, if I can use that word, of different things that are happening that the committee can then research and come back and say, hey, you know what, this one might be worth a further look, or this one might bear some fruit. Again, giving the committee that broader ability to do some work. The third is liaise with Alberta Health Services, local clinics, and regional partners to support collaborative approaches. Certainly, Mr. Mayor, if I could maybe divulge some of the discussions that we had with MLA Nally, with Minister Nally on Friday. There seems to be a bit of an appetite to look at some different methods to do things, and a push from AHS to, I guess, reinvent the current wheel, whether that's a new square wheel or a new round wheel, whichever one works. But it seems that there's at least a willingness to listen to some different proposals that might be out there. So I think talking to them and finding out how deep that want is would probably be prudent. And then I guess the last piece of this is provide recommendations to council regarding potential municipal involvement programs or funding initiatives. So again, the committee is going to come back to council with a suite of recommendations that then council can debate as a whole and determine which ones they would like to move forward with. The rest of the I think the rest of it is we'll call it administrivia, because that wouldn't be doing it justice, but it's kind of the dotting the I's and the crossing the T's of how we do that through the duties and outcomes and the authorities of reporting. Again, through our procedure bylaw, it has to be appointed by council, and all the recommendations have to go back to the council. So the last thing on that is the intention, when we created this, it's the intention of the CAO to provide support to the committee. And in the CAO's absence, it would be the General Manager of Corporate Services who would provide the appropriate support to the committee in doing their work. So, other than that, I'd answer any questions that council might have.
Thank you. Councillor Spicer.
Move that council creates an ad hoc committee for doctor recruitment and retention.
Thank you. Discussion? It was pretty clear it come.
I just think we need to do this to be ahead of the game, the 8-ball kind of thing that's coming at us, because we possibly have another doctor retiring, and we don't want our other doctors to go through what these 2 doctors went through in the last year. And our community as well.
Anything else from council? Not Not seeing anything, I'll call that question. All in favor? And that's carried. Councillor Smith was up first.
Okay.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that council approves the attached terms of reference for the doctor recruitment and education committee.
Thank you. And discussion on this, council. This is the meat and potatoes of the whole process. Go ahead, Councillor Cosby.
I think they're laid out very well. I mean, as a HADA committee, you guys are gonna maybe come back and have to tweak them a little bit to see how things evolve when you're working together and hearing from the public. So I think they're laid out pretty excellent.
Given the short period of time we gave the
Correct.
administration to put something together, I think they've done a really good job on it. So
Mr. Mayor, if I can make a comment on that, and again, kudos to Miranda. She's not only done a really good job of putting the template together, a lot of it is, not all of it, but a lot of it is from all of the other templates that we've created. So these can be turned out relatively quickly as long as we know, and again, the meat and potatoes are in, what are you trying to, what are the 4, 5, 3, 6, whatever, however many things you're trying to accomplish. As long as we get that part, the rest of it kind of starts to fall into place off of that. So again, kudos to Miranda for that work.
thank you. Anything further? No. So the motion is to accept the terms of reference, and I'll call that question. All in favor? And that's carried. Councillor Olson.
I'll make the motion that council appoints Mayor Dave McCray, Deputy Mayor Paul Brown, and Councillor Mel Smith to the Doctor Recruitment and Retention Committee.
Thank you. Just as a forefront, I can tell you that the reason I put forward these 3 people for the committee is, one, Councillor Smith has gone through this process a couple of times at least, so has some background knowledge on it. I certainly have the current flavor over the last little bit, and I think this is a scenario whereby having the deputy mayor officially attached to the committee gives it some strength and support. So that's why I put those names forward. However, I think it's important for council to be comfortable with that. If there's somebody else who feels they should step forward and be part of it for that reason, I'm not worried. But I think that's why those names were put forward. Not seeing any volunteers. Anything further from council? Motion on the table to accept Councillor Smith, Councillor Brown, and Deputy Mayor Brown and myself to the committee. Call that question. All in favor? No opposition. That's carried. Thank you. Now we're moving into 11.3. Again, Mr. Van Buell, we're in your hands.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So the purpose of this is to allow council to provide financial assistance for clinic expenses for doctor recruitment. Again, a long discussion happened both in the open session and in closed session. Coming out of the closed session, there was a request from council to proceed as directed, and this is the direction as I understood it. So council's wish on this is to do some immediate financial assistance for the most recently recruited doctor, Dr. Patricia Aloho, to help us with clinic expenses set up. And then there's some medium-term funding that council wishes to assist with. The long and short of this is there are some financial constraints put on council through the Municipal Government Act on how they can provide loans, who they can provide loans for, and who a council can grant funds to. On the first one, council has the ability to provide grants for as they see fit. And the best example I can give you of that is the recent program that council put into place, the Reimagine Redwater, where we give a $5,000 grant that's or up to $5,000 grant for facade and storefront improvement. And then clearly that's to private individuals, but as far as a grant goes, the Municipal Government Act's very clear. Council has the authority to do that however they see fit for the betterment of the community. There are some more limitations put on providing loans. And I think Council in the orientation last week got a good taste of some of that, but I'll recap it at a high level. The municipality proper, being council, is prohibited in the Municipal Government Act from providing direct loans to for-profit corporations. They are, however, not prohibited and are allowed to provide loans to nonprofit organizations, or they can actually be the co-signer on a loan that a nonprofit organization may take out from a bank. And so they can co-sign and backstop that loan. The caveat there is that any loans that are given need to be set out in a bylaw with the terms of that loan, et cetera, and the repayment, et cetera, set out in through bylaw. And that bylaw must be advertised. If council wants to put forward a grant program that grants money to a nonprofit, at which time, quote, the nonprofit or the for-profit business may or may not choose to repay that grant, that is also within the purview of council. The caveat there being, if there's an expectation for it to be paid back, it has to be in writing. And once that expectation of payback is in writing, then you have to go through the bylaw process. So, and I gave that before I kind of went through the proposed motions, because there's really two motions, I think, that to be on side with the Municipal Government Act that we need to do to be on side. The first proposed motion is that council authorize a $15,000 grant to Dr. Patricia Aloha for expenses related to clinic setup and equipment purchases, with funding to come from the proceeds of the 2026 mayor and council charity golf tournament. So for this grant, I think it's important that we identify that funding source. Again, there's no guarantee that the golf tournament actually makes that 15,000. If the golf tournament were to not make those funds in 2026, administration would be coming back to council and saying, okay, so there's a shortfall in this, where would you like to make up the shortfall? I'll go out on a limb here. Somebody might be sawing the limb out, close to the tree trunk, but the work that our committee, both council and our staff, have done in setting the foundation for the golf tournament, quite frankly, is very solid, and it continues to get better every year. I would be absolutely shocked if the golf tournament didn't make $15,000 in 2026. So I'll just put that out there. The second proposed motion is that council directs administration to identify and set up the appropriate mechanism within a nonprofit organization to fund ongoing loans for doctor recruitment and retention in Redwater. I think this gives us the ability administratively to go out and look. Given the previous motion of setting up the ad hoc committee, certainly administration would be working with that committee to vet any of the setup logistics of how that would work. So even though it gives administration the appropriate authority to go back and set it up, rest assured administration will be working with the doctor recruitment and retention committee to formalize whatever conditions are involved in that. So hopefully I've spelt that out in layman's terms enough, because there's a lot of cut and paste from the Municipal Government Act that may or may not make sense, but again, I tried to kind of give it to you in layman's terms, how that has to work. With that, I'd answer any questions.
Councilman? Councillor Smith?
I'll make a motion that council authorize a $15,000 grant to Dr. Patricia Aloho for the expenses related to clinic setup and equipment purchases, with the funding to come from the proceeds of the 2026 Mayor and Council Charity Golf Tournament.
Thank you. Discussion by council. Go ahead, Councillor.
We have to start someplace because doctor retention is very important to not just our community, but for the surrounding communities.
Anything else? Councillor Spicer?
The only question, it's not really a question, just my understanding was that the funding from the Mayor and Council Charity Golf Tournament was for kind of in the future, and we didn't really necessarily have a funding for it for this time, that this was just would find it somewhere to give to them. That's the only thing. That was just my understanding from the conversation through the committee of the whole. That might be just me.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I think it was one of the suggestions that was thrown out. I don't know that we ever, kind of settled on that being the funding source. I think from administration's perspective, because this isn't in a budget anywhere, before we write a check, we need authorization, and we need to be on side with the Municipal Government Act, that there's a funding source and it comes through in a budget, because if we just cut a check without having the funding source, I don't like our
Chances.
well, it would be a difficult one to defend. So, whether this is the funding source or if you just want to use a reserve, that's certainly up. And when the golf tournament is finished, then you can move funds however you want. But at this point in time, we do need a funding source for it.
Go ahead, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I think, like if we're planning on doing something this year, the golf tournament is probably the most expedient method. I think the hoops we'd have to jump through to either bring it from reserve or some other spot would be,
So,
take us a while.
and Councilor Brown, you're not wrong. So, the way this logistically works is we're pre-spending something out of the 2026 budget, right? So,
We're not pre-spending anything out of the 2026 budget. We're pre-spending it out of revenue from the golf tournament.
sorry. So let me rephrase that. We will be taking money from our current funds to be repaid from those funds, right? But the fact that we're writing a check means it has to have a funding source.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I apologize for that wording. You are correct, it's not.
I get nervous with the budget. Okay. And I think the one thing that we kind of touched on just a couple of minutes ago, Councillor Spicer brought up the fact of how important doctor recruitment and retention is in our community. I got another message today as of 8 o'clock tomorrow morning to 8 o'clock Thursday or 8 o'clock tonight till 8 o'clock tomorrow night, whatever it is. Again, we're stuck with the virtual doctor at the hospital. We don't actually have a physical person there to assist. And I know I lived, I believe there's several here at the table who lived through the time when our hospital was actually closed in the emergency room. And we were sending people to Fort Saskatchewan or Smoky Lake, depending on where they were at the time. And to my way of thinking, that's not acceptable. We have to support our people, so my tirade.
I just wish it hadn't come to this. That's the problem. Like, it shouldn't come to this, but
It's a provincial responsibility, no ifs, ands, or buts. And we know that we're seeing more and more of that being given to us. It can't continue, we know that. Excuse us. We did have this conversation with Minister Nally about it and how it affects a small community and what it means. And it's something that the municipality has to step up and plug the hole as we can, but it doesn't mean we have unlimited resources to do
What I was
that.
gonna say is we can't get into a bidding war with even Edmonton or even Westlock or anything like that. We just can't win. Right?
Okay. Anything further at the table? Not seeing anything, I'll call a question with respect to the grant to Dr. Aloho. All in favor? No opposition, that's carried. Second motion, Councillor Brown?
Make a motion that council directs administration to identify and set up the appropriate mechanism within a nonprofit organization to fund ongoing loans for doctor recruitment and retention in Redwater.
Thank you. Discussion, anything further that we haven't said? Okay, not seeing anything, I'll call that question. All in favor? And that's carried as well. Thank you, council. Agenda item 12, reports. Anything from council to report? Not seeing anything? Go ahead, Councillor Olson.
Just from the Fed gas, the riser rate levy, going up $1.50 per riser. Once it's voted on at convention, but that's what's going forward. And the Fed gas, Gas Alberta Inc., I think was 5 or 6 cents levy.
Can you translate that for us as to what it would impact our community?
$1.50 per riser at 1,300 risers or so.
It's gonna be,
We were paying 15 something, going up to 16 something.
we
So,
calculated at about a $1,600.
Yeah. and then the other levy from Gas Alberta Inc. is passed on through the purchasing of the gas from,
Through them.
yeah, they add that on, because last year's numbers weren't as good as they thought they were gonna be, because they projected obviously a colder winter than what we really had, and the prices were volatile as they are every day with this. You know, there was a couple of days that the sellers were actually giving it away or actually paying to have it taken away, but we couldn't take advantage of it because our caverns were full. So,
Mr. Mayor, just a point on that. I think one of the things that Fed Gas is seeing, if it's the same as what we're seeing locally, is that gas consumption is down here. And it's on frankly, it's on a steady decline over the last 4 years. So I think part of it, not all of it, part of it is as gas prices continue to rise, people are doing what they need to do in their home, to reduce consumption, whether that's turning the furnace down or whether that's, replacing appliances and becoming more energy efficient. But certainly our numbers, as we go through our budget, seeing a continual decline in the actual consumption of gigajoules of gas in the community.
even though we're putting more risers in.
The only thing I'd like to add with respect to reports is Mr. Van Buel mentioned we met with Minister Nally. The primary reason for talking with Minister Nally was the SHIF grant and the fact that if we are successful in getting those funds from SHIF, we will need MWOP funds to backstop it. And the MWOP funds hopefully would match what we got from SHIF, which will need the Minister of Transportation and Economic Corridors to be online with our application under MWAP. And please don't ask me what MWAP stands for.
I can tell you.
Municipal.
You found out, did you?
Alberta Municipal Water Wastewater Partnership.
Okay. So that would mean if we were to be successful in getting $6 or $7 million from SCHIF, we would need $6 or $7 million from MWAP. Minister Nally assured us that he would personally speak with the Minister of Transportation and Economic Corridors and arrange for a meeting with him and the Minister, or with Minister Nally and the Minister of Tech, so we could go over our proposal and funding reasoning, so that that minister would have it on his desk at some point in time for consideration. At the same time, we also gave Minister Nally the material you saw in your cow briefing on medical coal burn in Victoria, their proposal with respect to making doctors municipal employees and how they're addressing doctor recruitment, and gave him a thumbnail as to what had happened in our situation here and what have you. So that was a meeting we had with the minister. No other reports. I'm not seeing anything, so.
We may be able to recruit from Quebec.
Yes.
To their law pass.
So,
Might be able to scoop them up in a net as they leave.
I'll look for a motion to accept reports as presented. Councillor Butcher.
Your worship.
Thank you. Discussion? Call that question. All in favor? And that's carried. Correspondence, we have general correspondence. First up is the letter that was read at our swearing-in ceremonies from Minister Nally. Just wish to highlight one short paragraph here where it says, "Your commitment to public service and your dedication to your community are truly commendable, and I wish each of you every success as you begin this new term together." So that from Minister Nally. The Alberta Council of Women Shelter Lift Her Up campaign. There we go. This is a campaign that was started partway through the election process, if I'm not mistaken, early on in the election process, with respect to some of the disparaging situations that were happening for female candidates especially. There's a comment here. We know that cultural change begins with awareness, dialogue, and commitment. That's why we developed the Lift Her Up training curriculum. And the request here is that if you have an opportunity to check any of their online programs and what have you for education, to please go ahead. They're designed specifically for elected officials, municipal teams, and community leaders. I would also suggest to council at any time you have the opportunity to interact with other councillors from other areas, whether they be male or female, have the discussion with them. What are they seeing in their areas as far as abuse of their elected officials? I know in several cases there's been communities that have actually instituted metal detectors and glass partitions and stuff like that to protect their councils. So make it a focus of your activities to find out what's happening around you in other jurisdictions. And then we have a letter from Dora LaRue, who is our direct contact with Fortis, congratulating all of us on our appointments, and looking forward to working with us with respect to the connection that Redwater has with Fortis. I think all of us at the table have had occasion to meet Dora, except perhaps Councillor Brown, but she has certainly ensured that lots of our not-for-profits and what have you have received some support through Fortis. We also received a letter from Sergeant DeHaan, who was here this evening. He has provided a really in-depth report and crime stats with respect to the last quarter of the reporting process. I wanted to point out, when he was here, I talked for a quick minute about the hotspot patrols. I think that's excellent that they identify certain areas based on public complaints. But I also need to reinforce that it's so important when you're talking with our local constituents, especially if it's some sort of a crime-related scenario, that we make sure we tell them to phone the police. I get so frustrated when I hear of people on social media commenting about a situation that happened and yada, 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 so on and so forth, and then 10 or 12 more people chime in about the incident. And nowhere in that thread do you see anybody saying, I hope you called the police, because that is the one and only thing that's going to get us more attention with respect to staffing. And the other thing I wanted to point out on his report is the media rave releases. The rave is available for everybody. Their Facebook is available. They also have a reporting online app that you can report crimes online. And it's important if you want to keep track of what's happening in your area. You can rely on what somebody writes on Facebook if you like, but the reality of it is, if you want the actual important information, you go to the sources. So that's his report. There's no action required on any of those, so I'll look for a motion to accept the general correspondence as presented. Councillor Cosby, thank you. Discussion by council, anything in any of those topics that you wish to highlight or bring forward? No, not seeing any. I'll call the question on that motion to accept. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Councillor Olson?
Motion to adjourn.
Discussion? All in favor? Thank you, council. It was a good evening tonight. Good information passed.